Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Damage Report. Today is a Wednesday, but it's a big Wednesday, not just a big news Wednesday. It's also the last show of the week because, of course, tomorrow is going to be Thanksgiving. And so we didn't want to send you into the holidays with trash just piling up around the house. So we decided we're gonna take out the trash early, and Jayar Jackson is gonna join me for the rare Wednesday garbage people. How's it going, Jayar?
You know what I enjoy doing before I jump on the show?
Everything other than waiting for the show to start.
I enjoy to get my blood pumping. I like a little bit of morning cardio. You know, you're supposed to get up and just embrace life. You know, get energetic, get involved, get your blood going. In fact, get a little bit worried that you're going to screw everything up by not being.
Exactly, but against all odds, you are there. So thank you for joining us, both for the beginning of the show and also for the entirety of the show. Glad to have you here. We're gonna have some big news to talk about, as well as a little bit of fun news. I'm excited to see who your garbage person is going to be. But for those of you who are already watching, regardless of what platform you're on, please hit the like button or share the stream or literally whatever. Just do some random thing and let more people know that the show is active. And as we go along, if you send in tweets, chats, all that stuff, super chats, we'll be responding to those as we go. And with that said, Jayar, why don't we launch into this thing?
Let's do that.
And I'm gonna try to justify to the audience what that stream title is all about. Okay. Donald Trump only has a couple more months to be president, but that doesn't mean he's not doing stuff. I mean, for the most part, for 2 weeks, he'd been avoiding the press like they had COVID rather than him and everyone he knows. But he did pop up for a 63-second press conference, apparently. You probably saw this. You probably saw it all in one go without blinking. It was 63 seconds where he popped up to say that, I think it was the Dow Jones hit 30,000, and that's a sacred number. That really has nothing to do with most people because most people don't own stocks, but that was pretty much it. No questions, really not making it a press conference at the end of the day. It was pretty much like one tweet's worth of him rambling and then he was gone. But that's not to say that he's not doing stuff, which we'll turn to in 1 second. But Jayar, what did you think about that press conference?
I kind of wish he'd done stuff like this when they had these COVID press conferences. Like maybe advisors should have told him that. Like say less, talk less. Just get up there, say one sentence of what you care about and get out of there and let other folks talk. But instead he did the reverse. He wanted to talk more and more as they piled up issues with their COVID response. No, it was also transparent. Before, I mean, I didn't think it's possible to say this before, but he kind of stopped trying. During the administration, during his 4 years, apparently he was trying, even though it seemed like he wasn't. But this is a new level of not trying. It's just, I don't care. They made me come out here. But you know what? There's one thing I do want to tell people. So I'm gonna go do that, and I'm just gonna leave because who cares now? Who cares? But before, I really could have said the same thing. He goes up there and talks that long about nonsense because who cares? Somehow it fits both of his approaches.
Yeah. It definitely does put into a different context what passed for being president before that. I think this is a weird theory. Feel free to disagree. I think they did it to provide the barest cover in response to the question of why hasn't Trump appeared before the press? Well, he did, sort of. Like, you can't say he didn't appear before the press because he was there for 1 minute. But of course he can't answer questions. I mean, can you imagine what the questions would have been? He's trying to overthrow an election right now. Exactly, and you could, if you watch the extended version of the video, we're not gonna make you actually sit through the video, but some of the reporters are like, they're like, swear, like what the is that? Like, because nobody's ever seen anything like it. But look, this is what he's sort of doing publicly. It's barely public, but that's what he's sort of doing public. But of course, what they're doing behind the scenes is far more important. And so I want to transition into that because we've only got like 56 more days of Trump as president, but the Trump administration is on pace to finalize 36 major rules in its final 3 months, similar to the number notched by the previous 4 presidents. But of course, what those rules actually are intended to accomplish is what's really important. And we can't go through all of them, but we're gonna sample a few, and it's a trip. One proposed rule could reintroduce firing squads and electrocutions for federal executions, giving the government more options for administering capital punishment as drugs used in lethal injections become unavailable. The Justice Department surfaced the proposal in August and accepted public comments for only 30 days instead of the usual 60. You're gonna see that coming up over and over in this segment. The rule cleared White House review on November 6th, meaning it could be finalized any day. The Justice Department didn't respond to a request for comment. Another thing that you're gonna notice with all of these. But so one of the things that they're ramming through, and whether Trump has anything to do with this or not is an open question. Whether he cares or not is an open question. But one of the last things they're doing is trying to reintroduce firing squads for capital punishment.
Okay, so then I'm sure they don't answer any questions, as we already saw from the press conference.
Nope.
But why? I mean, you already mentioned the shortage of lethal injection drugs that would kill people, but now firing squads administered where, by who? Again, why? Who's in your firing squad? Which kind of person that's going to get executed for what crime should receive a bullet to the head? Are they going to be able to smoke a cigarette and have a bandana around their eyes like in Looney Tunes? Like, so what exactly are we going to bring out the guillotines? I mean, that's what a lot of people who are in the streets want to have happen with these politicians. So if we're going to bring a bunch of old school things the way we did things, are we proposing everything now?
Doubt it. If I had to guess, you asked, and I want to take your question seriously. You asked who's going to be in it. I have a feeling they're probably going to auction off positions in the firing squad, because there's nothing a conservative wants more than to murder a person who can't fight back. But anyway, so here's the thing. The answer to all of these questions sort of is this doesn't really mean anything substantively. In terms of the optics, it does, because it sends the signal to conservatives, hey, look, I want to kill people. I want to kill them now, and I want to kill them as brutally as possible. It's not going to actually do anything, because even if this is finalized tomorrow, they've got a couple more executions scheduled, but all of those are going to be done via lethal injection, and they apparently have the drugs to do it. He's only going to be president for long enough to do those. This would not kick in until Joe Biden becomes president anyway, and Joe Biden is saying they're not going to do any executions. So I don't know which is worse, that they reinstitute firing squads to actually shoot people to death, or they just say they're doing it to reassure Americans, no, we really want to shoot people to death. We're not going to, but we want you to know that we would love to shoot people until they die. That apparently is what's happening. It's horrifying.
Yeah, maybe it's a little bit more of the vision of what America they want, because they really dislike the way things have been going, and especially since there's been this uprising and this awakening for racial injustice and things with our justice system. We're figuring it out a little bit more, and if nothing else, this is we're gonna go nuclear on this. This is what we really want. Because again, we see how Mitch McConnell's been trying to change over all these judge positions, these federal positions that he's trying to put in lifetime appointments. He's rushed them through. The floodgates are opening. That's been his entire agenda since Obama was in office. Let's keep it real. So with this is just another indication, like, well, we hate what America has been. Let's just go over the top. We're getting kicked out anyway. It's almost, again, I don't care. Let's just say what we've been wanting to say this whole time.
Yeah, and we got a lot of other things we got to talk about, but I want to say one other thing about the executions, because I think there's a reason that they're focusing on this and that they're saying firing squads, especially once you acknowledge that it's not going to actually happen. I think there is a chance that this is a wink and a nod to the Q people. Because the QAnon people believe that the Democrats are all Satanists and pedophiles and all of that, but that's not the end of the QAnon theory. The end is the storm, and the storm is where they round up all of the Democrats and execute them all. And like telling them all in your final days as president, I'd love to see some firing squads. I guarantee, I'm not going to the QAnon places. I don't want to expose myself to that, but I bet this gets a lot of play in the QAnon places. They would love the idea of Hillary Clinton and AOC and all of those being rounded up and shot to death. But anyway, that's not the only rule they're trying to change. The EPA is on the cusp of finalizing several rules that would make it harder to justify pollution restrictions or lock in soot levels for at least 5 years. An EPA spokesman declined to comment on the timing of these rules. We can sort of speculate. And again, no, we're not gonna get comments from anyone, because they weren't really our government before. They're certainly not our government now. They're there to get a few more things, try to disrupt the Biden administration while they can, extract a little bit of money, and then that's it. Don't expect much clarification. I'm assuming that the sort of rule like this that can mess with pollution restrictions on their way out can, in theory, be undone by Biden. But again, it's another thing that they're going to have to do just to get us back to the normal of early November 2020.
Yeah, think about some of these dates. Like you said, November 6th is when the review went for the firing squads. And then all the things are happening this week, last week, going into next week potentially. All this while the president his elite strike force team is trying to battle all these things in court and continue to lose their battles. So they know they're on the way out. So they're implementing things like this, rushing them through, but then saying that they're not on their way out. So it's a cover in a way. Like we're talking about how the things they're doing, which I think rightfully so, because I hate that argument that we can't talk about certain things. But rightfully so, we're talking about those things. But in the meantime, he's like, well, we know we're on our way out. Let's do these things as we're on our way out. It's if you really thought you won and you're coming back in, you don't have to go through this snowstorm of ridiculous policies to try and put in place.
Yeah,
it shows where their mindset really is.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna run through a few more really fast. And bear in mind, I'm not gonna go into detail, but there's other actions that we've talked about recently in the show, including opening up drilling in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge and drilling on the National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska. That's going forward. Actions to speed up chicken processing plants, despite the fact that it's almost certainly gonna lead to more sick people as a result, salmonella, the spread of that and all that. But then you also have, pending rules would make it more difficult to claim asylum by excluding people with criminal convictions, even those that have been expunged, giving judges more latitude to pick and choose which evidence to consider and which not. If you have any follow-up questions, you can stuff it in a sack, mister, because the Departments of Justice and Homeland Security didn't respond to requests for comment. Again, that's a pattern. Here's a fun one. The Department of Energy is racing to loosen efficiency standards for shower heads and laundry machines, evoking Trump's recurring bits about bathroom water pressure. Do you ever get under a shower and no water comes out? Trump said at an October rally in Nevada. And me, I want that hair to be so beautiful. They're actually doing that. Again, if you needed another answer to why do you focus so much on the stuff he says? Well, because it tends to become policy, even if ridiculous policy. Also, a rule completed on November 13th would restrict pension managers from considering social and environmental impacts, known in the industry as ESG, when choosing investments. Another Labor Department rule would make it easier for companies like Uber to withhold benefits by classifying workers as independent contractors instead of full employees. So in California, Uber and those other companies had to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to get this. Federally, they're just sort of getting it for free at the last moment.
Yeah, it's a wish list of horrible people and their policies of what they want to have put forward. And honestly, again, it's showing the character of this entire group. They tried this when they came in, as we already know. Like you talk with the EPA, and they're finalizing all these things to make pollution easier, or at least to keep restrictions on pollution, make those tougher. I mean, he put in heads of all these agencies when he came in to do all this stuff, and they did it to a degree. And whichever ones couldn't, he got rid of and put another a yes man in to do the same stuff. So it's the finalization of what he's been doing since the beginning.
Yeah, it's just on steroids, I guess, and especially like some of these are. The timing is so amazing, like the speeding up the processing of chicken, basically, in these big plants. Like we're having amazing reporting literally every week about what's been happening at the pork processing plants, the spread of COVID and stuff like that. And they apparently saw that and thought, oh, that's good. Now let's expand that. More animals, yay! And that's what they're getting. Effectively, this is paying off campaign donors, or preemptively paying off, so they'll continue to donate to Republicans. And that's what you're doing with your last days. And again, as we said early on, every administration rushes through rules changes and pardons and things like that at the end. The question is, what do they look like? And this is just the beginning. We're gonna see more in the future, but already it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Now, that said, let's read a few comments and super chats from the audience. Let's see, first super chat today was from John Person, who says, howdy, John, are you watching the PA press conference? It's very weird. Well, unfortunately, we can't, but I also, let's keep it real. I and you know exactly what it's going to be. It's gonna be a big fat nothing. The question is Trump gonna be there? They were saying yesterday he is, then earlier today he'd cancel his appearance, but he also wanted it to be a surprise. And the only way at this point he gets that is to cancel his appearance and then show up anyway. It's gonna be nonsense. They're gonna say that the election was stolen. They're gonna provide zero evidence. Do we need to watch that? Nothing is going to be said. The only question is, what is going to leak out of Rudy Giuliani's body? And your guess is as good as mine at this point.
Well, apparently the excuse is that COVID might leak out of his body, so that's why they're saying he's not going to show up. But again, like you said, we're in the November surprise stage.
Let's see. Venetia David says, so glad to catch Jayar and John live. Thank you for still doing the garbage person this week. Well, thank you, and for watching. Miss Kaylee Dragon is our #1 fan. Thank you. I will mark you down in the books as #1 fan. Lizzie Peon says, did you see the interview with 2 Trump supporters that ended with, we are not stupid, Donald Trump is a genius. That's what the J stands for. I didn't see that. That
no
can't be.
No way, bro.
It
I refuse
can't
to believe it.
Tell me it's not true. H says, hoping everybody has a safe Thanksgiving and sending comfort to those who will be missing loved ones this holiday season. P.S. Is Crystal Dragon taken? If not, I'd love to take it. We'll consider it yours. That is my Thanksgiving gift to you.
Apparently, we need an official list somewhere.
I think there is. I think there is
to keep it tracked, because we're gonna get some repeats. And once someone holds a position, it's gonna be like a basketball team or any sports team. If someone has your number when you get traded to the team, you either have to pay that person to get your number, or you have to hope that it's available.
Well, it's like here at TYT, if we hire anyone named Vigeland, they're gonna have to change their last name because we've retired Vigeland's jersey. Anyway, IX Angel of Pride, thank you for resubscribing on Twitch. Appreciate that. No Ramos as well. Let's see. Glitterous Dragon says, John, your dump impersonation is getting really, really good. And just as he's on his way out, I guess we won't get to enjoy it for much longer. And again, it's not an impersonation of Donald Trump. It's an impersonation of Stephen Colbert impersonating Donald Trump.
Well, that means you gotta sharpen your Biden impersonation then.
Oh God, yeah. I need to, and more importantly, Jim Carrey needs to. Anyway, Gabby over on Twitter at #TDR Live. You can always follow live commentary on Twitter, #TDR Live during the show. Reintroducing firing squads and the electric chair. Okay, so why stop there? Why not just have Army artillery use death row inmates for target practice? It's just as cruel and unusual. We'll see, but you're joking, but what percentage of the country would be perfectly fine with that?
Yep.
Or anything, insert a noun to kill these people, releasing wild wolverines on them. Yeah, there's a certain percentage of the country that'd probably be perfectly fine with that. Okay, now with that, why don't we turn to our next topic? One of the big last minute things that Donald Trump could use his presidency for is issuing pardons. It's a thing that presidents generally do. And this administration, which has been chock full of criminality, is probably likely to do that as well. And some of the president's biggest supporters aren't even hiding how much they're urging him to pardon himself and others in the last minutes. Here's Matt Gaetz.
President Trump should pardon Michael Flynn. He should pardon the Thanksgiving turkey. He should pardon everyone from himself to his administration officials to Joe Exotic if he has to, because you see from the radical left a bloodlust that will only be quenched if they come after the people who worked so hard to animate the Trump administration with the policies and the vigor and the effectiveness that delivered for the American people. And so I think that the president ought to wield that pardon power effectively and robustly.
Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of nonsense there about them doing stuff for the American people or whatever. And there was also the added level of nonsense of, oh no, he should like only pardon himself because the left is gonna be coming for them. You know what the left wants? They want political blood, not us conservatives. We would never want to lock them up. We never want to do that. That's not a thing we do. By the way, sometimes I really wish that I could be the one doing the interviews, because I would have just asked the follow-up. Wait, is there anyone on the left that you think should be investigated that's broken any laws? No, you totally do. You talk about it all the time on the media. So what are you talking about the left being bloodthirsty? But anyway, what he is saying there is Trump should pardon all these people, not just people like Michael Flynn, who apparently Trump is telling confidants he plans to pardon. That's like breaking news as of the last day, but also himself. For what? Matt Gaetz isn't being specific there, but he clearly thinks something. He's admitting that there's something there that in theory Donald Trump should pardon himself for.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So if he's gonna pardon himself, he has to have committed a crime, right? He has to be charged with something. When is that all gonna go down, Matt? I mean, in order for him to pardon himself, let's start that investigation. Let's start the charges. Let's go into convictions so we can get to your end game of him pardoning himself and Joe Exotic and the Thanksgiving turkey. This whole thing is mixed in with like comedy, but then he gets this angry tone. It's like they keep their stupid supporters guessing as to exactly whether or not they should be laughing, crying, or yelling at the TV when they're listening to them. So when you throw in the Thanksgiving turkey, it's obvious that it's like a tongue-in-cheek thing. So is the Mike Flynn a tongue-in-cheek thing? Is the pardoning yourself a tongue-in-cheek thing? Is the pardoning of Joe Exotic a tongue-in-cheek thing? Who knows? Who cares? Just go ahead and do it. Just say it on TV, then go back to your wherever the hell you're staying, and let the people just sift and sort that whole thing out. This is, again, I don't know what the end game is. I don't know what the point is of even going on TV. It's just to have this appearance and say, I have to go on TV this morning to say something ridiculous, and then go back home. Like, why? You don't believe it's gonna happen. You don't have a real point. So why are you doing this?
I mean, the point is to reassure Trump fans that he's going to be all right and everything's going to be all right and everything's going to come up MAGA, basically. I mean, it's like the appearance of the Michigan speaker, the House Speaker of the Michigan House of Representatives, who went from telling one of the Fox and Friends people like, there's all these conspiracy theories that we're going to overturn the results of the election, to 1 minute later saying, well, there's still a chance that we're going to overturn the results of this election. Like, you don't have to be at all consistent. Matt Gaetz is there to tell them Trump can pardon himself, because his fans are worried that in theory, if he's not president anymore, he will get investigated. So reassure them, no, he's gonna be fine. He's going to be pardoned. And why? Because they're bloodthirsty for political blood. And then 10 minutes later, they can go back to Rashida Tlaib should be arrested, and Ilhan Omar should be arrested, and all that stuff. It doesn't matter. There's no Fox viewer is gonna say, hey, wait a second, I thought it was the left that did that. That has been bred out of them at this point. Just tell them something that's convenient right now. And Matt Gaetz, while he's generally a dullard and all of that, he does recognize that part of the game. He's good at two things: telling them what they want to hear and getting his hair ever higher. I don't know what's going on with that, but it gets higher every time he appears on Fox News. It's been elevated a little bit more.
He's the Pinocchio, but his hair is the nose.
So lies.
Last thing, I don't know if it's the last thing, but thought about their Law and Order party, because we know how Trump was pushing law and order, law and order, law and order, law and order, then order and law. It actually gives a bit of an illustration as to what they think of law and order and the justice system and the way things should be done here, as you just detailed. So apparently, law and order only works if it's the guys you don't like, or if it's the guys you think are the criminals. Law and order doesn't work if it's the people who've been proven to be criminals, or at least have enough evidence to investigate their criminality. Forget that part, because that's us. These are the good old boys. We don't have to fall under the law and order thing. The other people fall under the law and order thing. All those folks that you already dislike, the folks we've convinced you since the beginning of our country are the bad guys. So that's their real view of the judicial system in the country. It's, we're okay, we break laws and we get away with it. You actually don't break laws, or there's some minor thing that some kid stole a pack of gum from a grocery store before, therefore execute him. This is the way that they approach things, but they don't have to say it necessarily out loud. They just say it in these terms of, oh, well, we're the good old boys and they're the bad guys. That's not law and order. That's not justice. That has nothing to do with a free and fair system of punishing people or actually keeping crime down.
Yeah, law and order, it's the motto on the box. It's branding, that's all it is. And when they say it, they know what they actually mean. Their intended audience knows exactly what they mean. This is state power designed to protect the interest of people like you. And you means white, Christian, relatively well-off, straight, cis, all of that, to protect you and to strike out against everyone you despise and fear. It doesn't mean that we have some sort of objective system of law that everyone has to comply with. We will use it aggressively against the people we hate, and the people we like, they can break all these rules if we want. Trump fans don't care about that. If Trump is making money while in office and all that, breaking all the emoluments clause and all that, they're not mad about that. He's a good person, he gets to break the law. The bad people, that's what the law is for. They're very clear about that. Now, Trump is being advised to use the pardon power, and wait, we're actually finding out that he is already deploying it. This is a trial balloon. Here he is with a couple of important pardons.
Beautiful, beautiful bird. Oh, so lucky. That is a lucky bird. Wow.
Corn, yes, it's corn.
Corn, I hereby grant you a full pardon. Thank you, Corn. What a great.
There was something about the way they framed that shot up until last second that was like, this is the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like seeing him like despondently waddle over.
Yeah.
And look at those people. Those people, to their credit, are wearing masks.
Yeah.
And then Trump and Melania just roll up on them. Trump and Melania, both of which had COVID recently, just wander up on them, breathing germs all over them, breathing it onto the turkey. Poor corn. Don't give corn COVID. I don't want corn 19.
Did you watch that whole thing, John?
That is literally enough. What I just saw right there is enough. Why? What happened in the full version?
So there was Corn and Cobb, obviously. Corn is the only one who got officially pardoned on TV. Cobb also got a pardon, but I'm not sure if Trump knew that because he went back to reading his statement and said, "Oh, and Cobb, there's two, yeah, another one apparently." So again, I only say that to point out that he sauntered out, as you mentioned. Really does not want to be there because his name is not Corn nor Cobb and he can't pardon himself. So he's actually upset that he has to go through the continuing presidential. I'm sure it's annoying for every president to do the Easter egg roll, which probably might be fun, but the Easter egg roll, the Christmas celebrations, as Melania said she hated doing, the pardoning of a stupid turkey. I'm sure they're thinking, I gotta go outside and pardon this turkey for some PR. But usually at least you do it because you're in office. You're still having a good time and it's fun and maybe we'll just do something cheeky. But when you're mad and you just lost and everything that's in the news about you is how you're a loser and you're petulant and you're a child, now you gotta come outside and put your face in front of a camera in order to pardon a turkey. It really angered him.
Maybe. I think the thing that I think that he kind of likes about it is like on Veterans Day, he gets to appear to still be president without any chance of having to answer a hostile question. Like they're not gonna talk to him. He doesn't have to answer anything. He gets to stay really far away from them and pretend to be president or whatever. Like if there's not a crowd, he's really not gonna get that much out of it. And it was really weird how far Melania was standing from him initially. I don't know what that was about. She could have been standing right next to him, but she wasn't. Anyway, yeah. What the reason I wanted to play that mostly was I was surprised. Like he joked, like it being a very lucky bird because it was getting a pardon. I was waiting for him to be like, I pardon Corn, I pardon Cobb and myself, and then have that be like Kayleigh McEnany the next day saying, no, he pardoned himself. You saw it, it's official. We're moving on. But they didn't do that. That's good. They respect some norms, I guess.
How soon before he tweets how the media and the justice system treats Corn and Cobb more fairly than they treat him? I watched CNN and they said that Corn and Cobb were free to go.
Yeah, you know what? This is sort of this is a tangent, but it really gets to the again one of the I don't often bring it up, but one of my biggest frustrations about political language is how there are these terms that supposedly just apply, but they really only apply to one side. So like getting triggered, political correctness, all of that are terms that in theory could apply to anyone, but they only ever apply to the center and left of center. So we have this norm where the president comes out and pardons a turkey. And it's like cute, but if it had been like Obama or Biden or like Cory Booker, let's imagine President Cory Booker comes out. He's like, I'm gonna pardon this turkey, gobble, gobble, you're good to go. And by the way, America, like if you could eat one less meal with meat per week, that would be great. You could do your own pardoning of a meat. They'd lose their minds. How dare the president tell us what to eat? But we're the ones who get triggered. Anyway, okay, with that, we're gonna move on to arguably more important stuff than the fate of Corn or Cobb. But first, we're gonna read a few comments. With British 32 sending in a super chat saying, hi, John and Jayar. Thought I would tell you my big MAGA uncle in America has now completed 2 weeks at a professional deprogramming addiction facility, which offered support groups / real information, and he hasn't retweeted the orange moron in 2 weeks now. I don't know if that's tongue in cheek or not. I assume it is, but thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean he'd have to I guess admit himself, or maybe it was an intervention. They put down their guidelines and what their lines they're not going to cross. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a thing. Start it.
Yeah. Being nobody, thank you for your super chat. Appreciate that. Sister Soul says, Happy Thanksgiving, Dragon Squad. And just in case I do forget to say that at the end, Happy Thanksgiving, Dragon Squad. I hope it's a great one. And I hope it's a safe one. I hope it's a distanced one.
Yes.
Wayne Sugahara says, Happy John and Jayar, garbage day from Wasabi Dragon. Thank you for that. Franklin Sharpslicer says, gonna enjoy my Thanksgiving with Crunchy Frog, my wife. Many years, the love of my life. We may well have Thanksgiving pizza. Watch the telly, no politics if you please. John and Jayar, have a rest. You the best. Thank you.
For a second,
we've had a lot of.
Go ahead.
What's that?
For a second, I thought Crunchy Frog was what was on the menu for Thanksgiving. Sorry,
I think Crunchy Frog is the anime streaming site.
Oh, really?
Once, weird throwback to Think Tank. I once did a sponsorship from Crunchy Frog where I watched and reviewed a season of Attack on Titan, which was a lot of fun, by the way. Anyway, over on Twitch, Juan Miranda is gifting a tier 1 sub. Thank you for that, as well as Obi Mom Kenobi. Thank you very much. We've got a tip from Bart, household tip. If you want your shower head to have excellent water pressure, purchase an RV shower head at an RV shop or Walmart. RV shower heads are designed to increase water pressure for when campsites have low water pressure. I recommend Oxygenic's showerhead brand. I have one and my showers are awesome. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. This message is brought to you by Oxygenic's shower heads.
I was say this is our Bart, right? Every time you read a Bart,
this is our Bart.
I assume it's our Bart every time.
Because
I hear him every week. I don't know if he gets a read out every day, but every time it's something that I'd say 2 other people in the world know about that Bart gives us information on, and it's generally helpful. Just saying.
Yeah, generally. Thank you, Bart. Andrew Borth has a great super chat that says, the left is bloodthirsty. That's why we want firing squads. Also, putting it on pay-per-view on the new Trump TV channel. Yeah, exactly. Like, can you, like Matt Gaetz, can you just wait like one day after you find out that they're gonna be literally electrocuting people to death, or at least that's the plan, before you call the other side bloodthirsty? Here's the John Iadarola guarantee. I don't wanna kill anybody, basically. Garen Reagan, thank you for your super chat as well. And Melly on Twitch, shout out to your great Aunt Wanda. Thank you for that. And thank you for watching. Now that said,
one thing, I have a thought on Thanksgiving really fast, I promise. The travel and people going and making sure they're doing things that are unsafe. We're talking about how high the travel is right now. I'm trying to figure out where all these people are that complain every year about their stupid uncle and aunt and grandmother or nephew or niece that says something ridiculous at the Thanksgiving table and they wish they weren't there. Take that energy and stay home. I thought everyone had this annoying family member that they don't want at the table. Hey, you can eliminate them by just staying at home. Just saying. Yeah.
Or take my advice from yesterday. Just pretend that you have COVID. Don't say that you have COVID. Just start posting on social media about your symptoms, and your family they'll ask you not to attend. Anyway, okay, so with that, let's jump back into this thing. Here's a really underhanded way that Donald Trump is attempting to effectively decapitate the sort of the career civil service branch of the federal bureaucracy. Last month, President Trump signed an executive order creating a new Schedule F within the accepted service for employees in confidential policy determining, policy making, and policy advocating positions, and instructing agencies to identify and transfer competitive service employees that meet that description into the new job classification. An initiative that could strip hundreds of thousands of federal workers of their civil service protections. Now, if you made it to the other side of that graphic, thank you for sticking with us, because it doesn't immediately seem important or comprehensible what is going on here. But it is important, because what you need to understand is that the American federal bureaucracy is not one thing. It is largely, and it really does depend on which exact agency you're talking about, it is a big, massive bulk. It's like the iceberg under the water of people who work their entire careers in different fields, whether it's something having to do with the economy or public health or something like that. They stay between presidencies. They stay between many presidencies sometimes, accruing experience and connections and all of that. Now, on top of that, the iceberg above the water are political appointments, which are, in the best of times, still supposed to have training and experience in these areas, but those are chosen as managers and executives by the president. And generally, most of them will not survive from one presidency to another, let alone much longer. Now, that depends on the presidency. Joe Biden is probably gonna choose quite a few Republicans, but that's the way it's supposed to work. That's the way it has worked. Trump is fundamentally changing that. More than creating a new bureaucratic classification, the move gives the president greater freedom to go after the so-called deep state career civil servants that he said hamstrung his term in office. He ordered government agencies in October to review their employees and report back with lists of Schedule F employees no later than January 19th, the eve of Inauguration Day, which is not going to be the lead into his second term as he planned when he did that. But the idea is he wants all these agencies to look deep into their staff and say, who of these could be changed over from protected, relatively difficult to fire, professional, experienced civil servants to just whoever we want, toadies, lackeys, whoever we feel like. And right now, the group that is made up of those political appointments is about 4,000 out of 2 million. It is a relatively very small amount. And he is hoping to massively change that. So let's jump ahead and get an idea of how big of a change this is gonna be. According to an internal memo, OMB Director Russ Vaught has classified 88% of that agency's workforce as Scheduled F. So the Office of Management and Budget, which is very important and does work that is generally, has been agreed on historically, is nonpartisan. Doing evaluations of the cost of projects, doing sort of like projections of how long it would take for certain pieces of legislation to actually be put into effect. They're gonna go from having a few political appointments to the vast, vast majority being fully political, chosen by the president, can be fired at will by the president if he does, or if they do or say something that he doesn't like. This is not a piece of news that is sexy. It's not a piece of news that is immediately apparent why it's so important. But if this was how the federal government worked, it would be even less efficient, less capable of doing its job than it was over the past 4 years. And the scope, how broad they're going with this political appointment thing, is much wider than I even thought it was when they initially talked about changing these rules not long ago.
This is
Jayar, I apologize if it's boring.
Please, no, not at all. Because this is the thing. This is one of those things that it's hard for most people to really follow, not because how complex it is, just because we don't think about how every element of government works down to even this point. So when they say deep state, even the people who complain about the deep state have no clue what they're saying the deep state is. The deep state is a bunch of professionals that are doing their job no matter which administration they're in. It's not connected to that. But this is this is an illustration of a large view of what Trump wanted for his administration. That's why he fired so many people that as soon as they said one thing that had some basis in fact, he had a problem with them. That's why he was fighting with Dr. Fauci throughout this whole thing, because Fauci was just trying to be what most of these guys are, which is just an expert in their field, giving you the information and recommendations the way you should do something, and then you carry that out because you're the official head that's there. Now, they don't like that. So you have to demonize the information. You demonize professors, you demonize the information, you demonize normal history. This is rewriting present the way we rewrite the history books. History books tell us a bunch of lies and cover up things and sugarcoat things that were actually horrible that have happened. Now we need to go ahead and sugarcoat and politicize the present. So as we go forward, we can't rewrite history. Let's just rewrite life. So instead of people taking information or managers, as you point out, taking this information and doing with it what they need to help the American people, let's just not have any information. Let's just do what we want. And no more pushback. This is the elimination of thought, and it's the implementation of a government full of yes men. And you know who this benefits? The party that likes to implement yes men and just do things along their lines that have no basis in fact. Which party is that? Because if Biden has the same power, you know what he's not gonna do? Put in a bunch of yes men. In fact, he put in a bunch of people that disagree with him and that are Republicans that are apparently Trump supporters, as he pointed out to Lester Holt. This is what they know will be the response to it. They'll go, oh, well, I don't want to be that guy that puts in yes men, but they're not going to change anything back. They're just going to allow it to happen from one side and not happen for theirs.
Yeah, and it's a great point because it's not just about being able to fire these people at will. It's also the process wherein the vast majority of these employees are going to come from. Right now, it is an internal process where professionals do competitive searches for people to fill new positions. In the future, they'll be able to just choose people and put them in. That's not the way that it works right now. And you might say, well, but why would they want that? Why would they fill these bureaucracies with people that are chosen purely based on loyalty to the president? Don't these bureaus need to actually function? No, not really. No, like, look, for all the issues that we have with the Democratic Party, including Joe Biden, and literally the next story is gonna be about how he chooses people and how frustrating it is. In theory, they want the government to function. And why does the government need to function? Because the people the government is supposed to help and protect need help and they need protection. The Republican Party is really only interested in people that are gonna be just fine no matter what. And if the government grinds to a massive halt, that's okay for them. They don't want the government being involved in most of this anyway. And so if they can fill it with a bunch of dunces, they're fine with that. It doesn't need to work for them. Now, there's a question in Twitch, can Biden reverse this? I believe that Biden can. For the most part, he can reverse the policy in theory, I guess. But if a bunch of people are fired over the next 2 months, if they clear out literally thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of employees, maybe he can get them back, maybe. But maybe it's done a massive amount of damage across the entirety of the federal government, the entire federal bureaucracy. That is possible. And I hope that Biden does reverse it. I don't want Biden choosing yes men either. We're to get to the sort of people that he chooses. It can be frustrating too, for very different reasons. It doesn't have to be yes men, really. It could just be like people who have no reason that they should be in that role.
So 2 small more things on this. So Trump, you said, was trying to implement this right before Inauguration Day, which shows you his plans for his second term was to have this government where he is the king. Nobody disrupts what he says, and no one pounds his back. No one gives him information that is opposite of what his political aspirations are. That's what he wanted. That was in this next 4 years was supposed to be domination and then shutting people down. It's not really going to work out for him now. So now it's just a matter of, let's keep implementing it potentially for the next madman that wants to come in and then who's probably smarter and is not as lazy as this guy is. And then as he takes these things like, well, I can take over. I mean, I can implement yes men. I can suppress real information, but I can do it without sounding like an idiot. So if nothing else, it didn't work out for him, but it's definitely gonna work out for the next guy if it continues on.
Yeah.
The next Trump.
So exactly, or worse, theoretically, one who isn't an idiot. So we've been talking about Biden. We're gonna turn to Biden in just 1 second. Before we do that though, I did wanna thank both Dejati for gifting tier 1 subs, and especially Obi Mom Kenobi, who gifted 50 subs. Thank you so much for that. I do appreciate that. Now that said, a little bit of unfortunate news. The president-elect was interviewed by Lester Holt and was asked multiple questions about who he is looking to put into his cabinet and who maybe isn't going to make it in. Both sides of this incredibly frustrating. First, here's a question about his previous statements about looking for Republicans to serve in his cabinet.
Have you considered, for the sake of national unity, selecting or nominating a Republican, someone who voted for President Trump?
Yes, and we still have a lot more appointments to make. I want this country to be united. The purpose of our administration is, once again, uniting. We can't keep this virulent political dialogue going. It has to end.
Should we expect an announcement?
No.
Not ever or not soon?
No, not soon.
Okay, so he is apparently still thinking about putting a Republican in. Now, in his mild defense, he didn't bring it up. Lester Holt asked him the question about that, but he said that he is considering it. And as much as I have an issue with the way Biden answered that, the framing of the question I also have a big issue with, because what Lester Holt said was, in the interest of national unity, would you consider putting a Republican in there? And my response to that would be, in what possible way does that bring our country together? Like, I know that we just accept that it does, that Republicans never had to put a single Democrat in there, never, ever, ever. But a Democrat has to for unity. Okay, so let's say he chooses some Republican. Let's say he puts John Kasich in there. Does that bring us together? Does that give him any, Republicans getting him credit? Mitch McConnell is gonna be nice to him? Republican voters are gonna think he's cool and not a communist anymore, which they thought a week ago? Like, honestly, like it seems like a juvenile way to think about politics to assume that would do literally anything to look. If you say, hey, in the interest of papering over some of the most shallow political division we have, why don't you do that? But not, how do we actually get past the point where Mitch McConnell's stated goal is to stop you from doing literally anything over the next 4 years, which is the sort of partisan vitriol that I think is a little bit more important, perhaps.
Yeah, so it's a childlike approach. Again, I was gonna have a problem with the question because I want you to imagine this world. Donald Trump just got elected in 2016. He just beat Hillary Clinton. He just told his supporters to lock her up, says she's this, she's that. She was a pretty bad candidate, let's keep it real. After saying all that, and then we go, look at all the millions and millions of people that voted for Hillary Clinton. Look at all of these women that were looking to break the glass ceiling. Look at all this going on. Hey, President-elect Trump, are you gonna appoint some campaign folks from the Hillary Clinton campaign? Are you gonna appoint some Democrats? Are you gonna appoint some progressives to your cabinet to make sure you unite America? Because Hillary called your supporters deplorables and they lost their minds over it. So do you wanna maybe bring everyone together? Bring the deplorables together with the nice guys. Do you want to do that, Donald? You know what he'd say? He'd give you a middle finger and slap you in your face and walk out. And you know what happened with his supporters? They would celebrate him. Now,
they would love it.
On the other end, you got Les Holt that's willing to ask Biden, are you willing for the sake of unity? Again, I feel like I'm trying not to repeat everything you're saying because I had the exact same thought. In what world does that bring unity? I'm gonna go back to my questions I like to ask. So, again, if Biden had brought this up himself, how? First question, how does that create unity in this country? Who's gonna be unified behind it? What exactly are you gonna do with that person that hates you that's gonna make this a more unified country? What policies are you guys gonna agree on? Hey, Biden, are you running as a Republican? Did you run as a Republican or a Democrat? Is there no difference, President-elect Biden, between the two? Because you guys kept saying there's a difference. We had these debates where you said Donald Trump is garbage and he needs to shut up sometimes. Look what he's done to the country. But you're willing to put in someone that was with him? Yep. How does that work out for you? Doesn't that mean that now you're garbage and that you want to divide the country and that you're stupid and you should shut up sometimes? Because you're the same guy, apparently.
That's a good point, and I'm glad that you clarified that because it wasn't just some Republican. It was a Republican who just voted for Donald Trump. That was the question. That's madness. I mean, look, the theme of this show is not generally trying to bridge the gap, reaching across the aisle, all of that. But I'll give it a try. I have a suggestion. If someone watching this wants to see a Republican in the cabinet, how about a Republican win the popular vote nationally, like ever, like literally ever? How about you do that? You've done it once in basically my life. How about you do that? And then you can get a bunch of them, not just one Republican in the cabinet. You could have a full cabinet. Sometimes you get it anyway without having to ever actually get the people to support you. And I would have a question, but this isn't for Republicans watching. This is for Lester Holt. How do we get Democrats in the cabinet? Because we don't get it when the Republicans win. You don't seem all that concerned about us getting it when the Democrat wins. So let alone a progressive. And that's where we turn to the second question, which is, remember, someone who just voted for Donald Trump, yes, he's interested in that. What about someone who stumped for you for literally months and told their supporters to get you elected? What does he think about putting them in his cabinet?
What about former rivals from your own party, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren? Have you talked to them about cabinet positions?
Well, I've talked to them. Look, as I said, we already have significant representation among progressives in our administration, but there's nothing really off the table. But one thing is really critical: taking someone out of the Senate, taking someone out of the House, particularly a person of consequence, is a really difficult decision that would have to be made. I have a very ambitious, very progressive agenda, and it's going to take really strong leaders in the House and Senate to get it done.
Okay,
that's weird.
So
that's weird.
Not so interested.
So wow. So now he's concerned about taking people out of positions in government and putting them there when it comes to progressives. But he had no worries taking people in positions of power in government if it's a Trump guy to put in your office. Why is there so much extra concern? Why is there a thoughtful answer to why you don't want to do one thing, but then it's just a knee-jerk, sure, I'll do it when it comes to the other side? Again, it's more of a concern for the angry, rabid, stupid section of the country to respect them for some reason. No, I don't respect you. Oh my God, a liberal just said he doesn't respect me after I, for years, talk about how they should just die. Or maybe how their state just needs to fall off the map. Or let's not do anything for that state that has issues that provides so much more contribution to this country than any other state. Hey, screw them. But as soon as my empty, I'm trying to censor this as I go through this. As soon as my useless self gets involved in this, you're supposed to respect me. What is there to respect about you? What have you done? If we keep talking about contributions, this guy came down an escalator when he started his whole presidential run and said, Mexicans are garbage people, they're rapists, they're murderers, they're killers. So we're supposed to respect him? When is he gonna respect someone else? So that guy who had supporters for 4 years, you're gonna respect them. So what are you saying to those Mexicans that he called rapists and killers and murderers and drug dealers? What are you saying to them? Just ask him those questions. And you know why he won't come on shows that will ask him those questions? Because he'll have to answer those questions.
Yeah, the entire thing is incredibly frustrating. Like,
bring up everything he's done. Oh my God. Okay, so you caged a bunch of kids and then you separated them from their families. And you openly said the policy was to do that to deter people from coming because refugees are faking stuff, right? You said that. Hey, do you believe that, President-elect Biden? Because you're saying you're gonna put someone in your cabinet that believes that. There was tax cuts that were supposed to go to middle and lower class. It went to the richest. It went to corporations. The swamp was filled. You said all this. Do you not believe the swamp was filled anymore? Because you said it. You're putting in people who you said filled the swamp. Does that not mean you're part of the swamp, you idiot?
Well, we still have to see. We don't know for sure. Hold on. We do have to see. I will say, like what he's the argument that he made for why he's basically guaranteeing he won't put Bernie or Warren in the cabinet. I agree with it, honestly. Like I don't see why we would want them out of the Senate. They're literally among the best senators. Like Bernie is the best senator. The thing is though, Bernie doesn't want to be in this. He would prefer to be in the cabinet, so I would defer to him. And also, more importantly, that ain't why Biden ain't putting them in the cabinet. Like I agree with the argument, but I don't think you're being honest in telling it. That's not why. So John, I think we can be clear-eyed about all of this.
John, let's leave the big names and fine. Let's leave Bernie there. Let's leave Elizabeth Warren there. Let's leave whoever else, maybe progressives there. They're not the only progressives in the country. That's the other problem. We keep ignoring the fact there's progressives in the country that hold positions in state and local governments or maybe ran for office and they know what the hell they're doing. And we're not gonna put them in those positions. It's not just AOC in the squad. It's not just the new members of the squad. It's not just Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush. It's not just them. They're wonderful. We got more. Hey, if you cared, you'd go and put some of those people in some positions. Maybe you'd have them on some levels. Maybe they're not big enough name for you, like a Rahm Emanuel, that idiot. But instead, maybe put them in other positions where they can help boost this kind of an approach to the country. If you cared, but you don't.
Yeah, or even, I mean, look, I know what you're saying. We should cast an even wider net, but okay, so Bernie and Warren, they're senators, we can't take them out. Okay, AOC could be the domestic climate envoy. She could do that. She could take a couple of years out of the House or whatever, do that. Pramila Jayapal could be Health and Human Services. Like it would suck to lose her in the House, but it's not losing a senator. Like we'd still get some other Democrat to fill it. You could do all of that and more. Yeah, ugh. And Rahm Emanuel. And by the way, you say you have great representation of progressives. Here's the thing, and I know that Biden won, and also he won't want to hear this. That isn't up to you, Biden, because you're not a progressive. You don't get to tell us that you have enough representation when you're not part of the group that you're saying you've got enough of. That functions across all forms of representation. It ain't up to you as an outsider of the group to say if there's enough, if we've passed some sort of line. We as progressives who supported you and stumped for you and voted for you, and Bernie was all over the country for you and all over the media for you, we get to decide if there's enough representation. And honestly, as of right now, I'm looking at it, and barring some breaking news from today that I haven't seen, I don't even know what you're talking about when you say that. Are you like implying that Ron Klain is enough representation? You need to understand that when we're sort of okay with a pick, that doesn't mean it's a progressive. It doesn't mean it's our pick for that position. And so far, I don't think there's a single progressive that's been chosen for an important thing. John Kerry might get the job done in some international treaties. He ain't a progressive. He ain't even close to a progressive. Kamala Harris is not a progressive. I know that she's sort of trying to pitch herself in that way. It remains to be seen. Right now, we've got centrists. We've got some centrists who aren't as bad as others. Huzzah, but that ain't the same as a lot of progressive representation.
One more small thing on this. So that one part when Biden said, we've got progressives. Did he say progressives or liberals? He said progressives, right?
I think he said progressives.
We've got progressives in the cabinet or in my or whatever he said. During the debates and the end of the campaign, that word was called socialist by Republicans. So progressives are socialists, that's what they've been saying. When they accused you of having too many socialists in your circle, you said, we don't have any socialists in our circle, they're losers. I'm not a socialist, this isn't Venezuela, this isn't Cuba. So you say all that, and then when you've won, then you switch back and now you call them progressives and they're in your circle. I thought they weren't in your circle. I thought you don't do that socialism thing because progressives are socialists. That's what we've been told so many times. Progressives are just socialists that want to usurp all the power and take all your money and hand it out to people who don't deserve it. Where are the progressives? Wait, where did those socialists go? Where are they? I'm looking under the rug. Where are they? Can't find them. Suddenly they don't appear anymore in your vernacular. They've turned into progressives that you're surrounded by. Get out of here.
Yeah. And again, it's not them. Okay, we're gonna read a few comments before we move on. And notice to the director, we're running out of time.
Way too far with that. I apologize.
Don't apologize. We've got more than enough representation of apologies on the show. So let's get ready to skip to F because F block is gonna be quick. We'll do F and then we'll do garbage people, and that's probably gonna take us to the end of the time. Raja Harris, thank you for your super chat. Appreciate that. Beth Jellick says, thanks for speaking out. Thank you for speaking out in that super chat. Appreciate that. Jared Kraft says, yo, John, it's Crunchyroll, not Crunchy Frog. As an anime nerd, this got me. You're 100% right. It's been a bit, I forgot. Miranda Writes Left says, wanted y'all to know how infinitely grateful I am for your voices and hearts over this last year. I lost my job in March. I've been sleep deprived and beyond afraid and crazy angry, but in Dragon Squad, I'm not alone. So much love. Miranda, I love that. Thank you so much for that. Shadows in China says, happy Thanksgiving to the Dragon Squad. TDR kept me sane in 2020. Thank you for helping keep me sane, or whatever passes for sane. Rye Guy says, happy Thanksgiving, John, Jayar, and the rest of Dragon Squad. Everyone, please stay safe. One Thanksgiving is not worth risking lives. We need to get this pandemic under control before we can't anymore. 100%, agree. John Person apparently really liked Jayar's comment, says, can we get TYT righteous anger in gravy form on the TYT store? That's gross. Thank you. Okay, we'll read more of those in a little bit, but before that, Dijati, thank you again for your gifted subs on Twitch. Ironman as well. Tree Mobatiki, thank you for gifting one, and Glitteriest Dragon as well. I don't see it here in the doc, but I saw that Obi-Wan Kenobi gifted 25 additional subs, so 75 that I noticed. Thank you so much for that. That is just incredible. I really do appreciate that. And Shenanigans, thank you for converting from a Prime Gaming sub to a tier 1 sub. Appreciate that. Now, by the way, Jen Kilk says, Florida needs to fall off the map. I say that as someone from Florida. That's good. Falcon Steve has a good comment on Twitch. Remember when the GOP held hearings for Merrick Garland to preserve unity? Yeah, unity is an amazing one-sided thing.
Crazy
That's
how
what
that
unity
works.
is. Okay, with that, let's jump into this. It's just a weird mishmash, but I'm gonna enjoy it. So we're gonna talk about it briefly. Right-wing media grift is a weird thing, and it's amazing to see the conflict. These media, like figures in right-wing media who are like desperate to reassure their audience that they're still just as crazy as that audience wants. And then watching the strike back when they can't, for even the briefest second, hold to that crazy bar. And we've got examples of both of those. The first is the trying to reassure. So if you're Lou Dobbs, but if you're Lou Dobbs, you really want to reassure your audience that you're crazy. And what better way than having Sidney Powell on, except oops, Sidney Powell was kicked off of the Trump legal team and disowned. They don't even know who she is. But don't let that stop you. He still had her on just last night. Take a look.
Do you think that we're going to see the Trump presidency saved?
Yes, I definitely do. There's no issue in my mind, but that he was elected in an absolute landslide nationwide.
Sidney Powell, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you for being with us, even though you're not with the Trump team anymore because you were so crazy. Rudy Giuliani disowned you. Jenna Ellis disowned you because you were too crazy for them. But that ain't gonna stop Lou Dobbs, just keep having her on. Just change the chyron a little bit. But that crazy person can still be on your show. Why not?
I want you to remember what she said. Sidney Powell, attorney, expert on my show, says in one sentence, yeah, Trump won this election by a landslide, and that's why we're gonna fight to the end. Whatever he said, I tuned out. But the point is that it was nonsense. What is it about her saying that makes it different than Dave in Illinois saying it? It's the same thing. It's empty. It has nothing behind it. Who cares? Dave from Illinois is a construction worker, and he says Trump won by a landslide. Thank you, Dave, for being on the show. Why are you on the show? What did you just provide outside of what anyone else could say? It means nothing. And it obviously
she doesn't know.
Yeah.
She doesn't have any secret information. She doesn't have anything. She's just a random person who's technically a lawyer, which is just an indictment of American law schools. That's all that is. It doesn't say anything, but it's Lou Dobbs, and Lou Dobbs wants to remain on TV. And look, it's kind of amazing that he has. Clearly, he's got a talent. It's not in subtle hair dyeing, but he does have a talent, and that is staying relevant to crazy right wingers. And it is sometimes a difficult tightrope to walk on, to ride that razor's edge. Because take a look at what happened to Newsmax. Now, what is Newsmax? I don't really know, nobody does. But they're like gonna take over for Fox, I suppose. Like them and OAN have spent the last month saying, Fox are traitors. All you conservatives, come watch us. We're gonna give you the good stuff, man. Theirs is only 70% pure. We got Walter White. Our punditry is 98% crystal clear pure. But what about that last 2%? Well, look at how this grift game goes. They tweeted this. Newsmax calls Joe Biden winner in Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania based on certifications. There is no opinion there. All there is an acknowledgement that the vote has been certified and those states went for Biden. It's a normal thing, banal even. And so the response was, of course, insane. With DM Leach saying, I was kind of watching both Newsmax and OAN, don't have that issue any longer. RC says, OAN it is. President-elect Marshall says, well, I enjoyed your news for an extremely short time. I'm not attached in any sort of way. Hope your news channel tanks. Bye-bye. And there's just tons of that. People who lost their mind. It wasn't like Newsmax is like, hey, everybody, we need to seriously reflect on why Biden beat us so badly. All they said was the state certified it, and they lost their mind, the audience.
No, but again, this is the gauge. This is the gauge that Trump and his team have been going by. They're looking at and they're going, it doesn't really matter. They're just gonna get mad. Let's go for it. Who cares? Just say it. Have Sidney Powell / Dave from Illinois come on and say anything, and it's great. Good times. And then if anybody says anything different, if they state the facts, if they go, yes, today in Michigan, it snowed because it's November. And they go, oh, how dare you? I wasn't in Michigan, I didn't see any snow. It happened, bro. It just happened. You know what? I don't want to live in snow. I don't want to. That's why I moved to Southern California. I don't want to live in the snow anymore. I grew up in it. So if somebody then if I have a family member from Michigan to call me, I say, Jay, yeah, it's really nice. It snowed on Thanksgiving this year. I'm like, no, it didn't. I don't see it. What? It happened. Just chill out. It happened there. It's okay. You don't have to like it, but it happened.
In that example, you were talking to your grandma back home? Like, I've been talking to you and other grandma, but not you anymore. I don't have that problem, former grandma.
I still got my grandma on my dad's side.
Ooh, but man, those lefties, man, they get triggered. Snowflakes. In this case, about snowflakes. This is the game, and maybe Lou Dobbs is talented enough that he can survive it for whatever. What has he got? 3 more years? For 3 more years, maybe. But this is what it is. When you sell yourself based on, I know exactly what you want to hear, and I will just give you that. Whatever you want, I'll give you that. Well, then the problem is that if you ever don't give him that, there's someone else who will give an even purer version of that. And this as Francesca acknowledged earlier this week, this does not exist solely on the right. There are versions of this on the left as well. I've experienced this myself, but it is far more common. It's far more prevalent on the right. And I want to read one other tweet because I found myself looking at the replies to Newsmax tweets this morning. And one of my favorite wastes of time is to seriously engage with the point a person is trying to make on Twitter. So what happened was Newsmax tweeted that AOC thanked Harry Styles for wearing a dress on a cover of Vanity Fair or whatever. And they had a picture of AOC with a little kid, and they had put in quotation marks, Harry Styles is not the kid. Because despite the fact that this is a news network, they were mocking Harry Styles in a tweet about being a kid. But anyway, that's not the point. The point was that this was the culture war thing of men aren't manly anymore. And so they got a reply to that tweet from Iron Mind, who says, what happened to the real men? We were once a warrior breed with Vikings, hair and beard, power and masculinity. If a man of that era had a time machine, he would scare himself to death with the men nowadays. And there's a picture, I think, from the Vikings TV show, which by the way is literally a man who has been through hours of makeup and hair and wardrobe and all of that. But that's not the thing. Do you get what issue I have with that tweet? Can you get?
Because of the image they use, is some particular show you like? I don't know about.
It's not the image. It's not the image. It's the logical argument there. So let me get this straight, Iron Mind. We're weak now, but before with the Vikings, we were strong. We were a warrior breed, and if only we had one of those warrior breeds come in a time machine, they would die of fear at seeing a man in a dress. Wait, I thought that was like a tough guy. He literally can't even take seeing a man in a dress. What warrior breed is that? Your arguments suck.
As Trump said about Jeff Sessions, what kind of man is this?
I'm stronger than a warrior because I saw Harry Styles. I even thought he looked kind of good. Didn't have a heart palpitation at all. Certainly didn't die. What kind of argument is that? Think before you tweet, people.
No, it doesn't matter.
Anyway.
No, it doesn't matter. Again, back to the original point about all this. It does not matter if it makes sense. It doesn't matter if your strong man will die from the sight of a man in a dress. It also doesn't matter that men have been putting on dresses since forever.
Yep.
Totally. Wigs, dresses, doilies. Hey, check out some of those pictures of your founding fathers. They got wigs on, bruh. They've got wigs on. And I'm gonna go out on a limb and tell you this. Some of them were gay.
No. No. The strongest man in history. If he saw one gay man, he'd just. Who drank the apple juice in Twitch chat said, eek, a mouse. Quote, strongest warrior breed in history. Oh, I love stupid people. Anyway, okay. With that, Jayar, are you ready for this thing?
I don't even know if I can take it anymore, but sure.
I don't know. I give myself kind of a headache thinking about Iron Man's logic. Strongest man. Oh God, he's got a score. Anyway,
is that lipstick?
Is that lipstick? Let me get my dagger. Anyway, note to the director, why don't we have Jayar's first? I don't know what elements he has, but why don't we get ready for that? But I'll intro with Jayar and then I'll throw it to you, okay? Okay. Oh God, we're having too much fun. Okay, let's do this thing. It is the end of what passes for the holiday week, and so it's time to take out the trash. That song. Anyway, we got Trashy here. Trashy is ready, as we all are in the approach to Thanksgiving, to eat something tasty. So Jayar Jackson, myself, and Dragon Squad, we have combed the interwebs for the garbageest people in the world. Jayar, who's your garbage person of the week?
Well, I was trying to get away from the norms, the McConnells, the Trumps, the Giulianis, but at least there's someone that's somewhat connected. It's our friend Jenna Ellis, but it's not even for the reason that you would think from her clown portion of the press conference with Rudy Giuliani. It's actually her Twitter. Let's pull up this tweet. This Twitter that's gonna convince everyone that there was an issue, or there is an issue between conservatives and liberals, and that this well-known very much circulated tweet. Is it a quote? Was he on Twitter? Was it Facebook? From Teddy Roosevelt, who says, to anger a conservative, lie to him. To anger a liberal, tell him the truth. Teddy Roosevelt. So I've always had this a bit of a fascination with people quoting others, and friends of mine do it. People that I think are very smart do it. I hate quoting people, especially in meme form, and acting like that's a convincing argument. Why does that make any sense? In what circumstance did Teddy Roosevelt say this? It doesn't matter. Teddy Roosevelt said it, so therefore you should do what now? I thought you're fighting to get this election overturned. What does this have to do with that? So anyway, of course, people jumped on it, and we've discovered this is the good part. Teddy Roosevelt never said that. But the thing is she's tweeting like a 61-year-old aunt that lives in Nebraska and says, hey, did you guys see this? Here's a meme. And then tweets about it because she thinks she's still cool. And if I put up a meme, then that'll be great. So she got excoriated for this, Jenna Ellis did. So therefore she responded further and added to her tweet. For people asking, this, by the way, no one's asking, they're telling you. This quotation has been attributed to Roosevelt. Nobody's asking anything. No, but definitely nobody's asking anything. Nobody's asking. This quotation has been attributed to Roosevelt, but there isn't a specific record of him saying this in a speech. Okay, I posted it because the idea, that's a little typo, itself is true, whether or not he said it. Nice big smiley face. So the idea of your opinion about liberals versus conservatives is true. So therefore, it doesn't matter who you attribute the quote to, it's just true. Or maybe is it still convincing? Should people still listen to it? What's the point of Teddy Roosevelt? Hey, let's throw in George Washington and say, my Twitter account got hacked. Because people's Twitter accounts have been hacked before. That's a true statement. So does it mean, say, George Washington's Twitter account was hacked? It doesn't matter. Someone said it. I can attribute it to anybody. And then therefore you should be convinced that Twitter accounts get hacked. What are we doing here again? Wait, what's your job? Oh, to overturn the election. But we're talking about Teddy Roosevelt in a tweet because that's convincing. And then you didn't delete it. As you said, it's because I like that idea.
Well, because people were asking. No, everybody was pointing out that he didn't say that. Nobody was asking. They were maybe asking WTF, that's a question, but they weren't asking. Oh my God.
Jenna Ellis concludes her fabulous, the past week, from last week to this week, a full 7 days of ridiculousness, insanity. We already know about her opposition to Trump before that. That was clownish enough, but this I think firmly puts her in the garbage can for this week.
Definitely. Trashy will enjoy eating her. So the only 2 points I want to make on that is one is, as I said in my live this morning, it isn't just that she didn't care that it was true. It's that the quote itself was about the fact that conservatives only want the truth and libs only want convenient lies. And she didn't care whether it was true or not, which I just think is that's delicious.
I don't know, maybe I should put a picture of Teddy Roosevelt and then say irony. Maybe they'll figure out what it is if they read it with Teddy Roosevelt's face next to it.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I don't have the opposition to quotes or even meme quotes that you do necessarily, but in a particular way. If it's an interesting, thought-provoking comment, fine. If you want to use it for that, if you want to use it to memorialize someone, fine. But don't just try to have it make the point for you because supposedly a famous person said it. It still has to make sense on its own. But for her, it's a shortcut. It's a shortcut in the same way that Charlie Kirk putting the thinking head on all of his tweets is a shortcut. It's like, no, you still have to think. You can't just put the thinking emoji. Anyway. Okay.
So easy.
That's good garbage right there.
Money. Yeah, sorry, good.
If you're a conservative, it is very easy to make money. Okay, my garbage person of the week is of the roasted weenie variety. So it is going to be little Marco Rubio. I don't like to use Trumpisms, but this one just fits too well. So I'm gonna explain why. But first, this is gonna be a very small, unsatisfying meal for Trashy. There. But why? Why? It's because Marco Rubio is, like we've been waiting for all of these conservatives who duck their head down when Trump became president to wait and appear that they're tough again. Like Paul Ryan literally left politics and will come back. Ted Cruz, he's still a tough guy, even though he never got the better of Donald Trump. And Marco Rubio too he's sending out little trial balloons of, hey, I'm a big boy now. So one was criticizing Biden for choosing people who'd gone to Ivy League schools when literally everyone that Trump put in the cabinet has gone to an Ivy League school. So it was stupid, it didn't make any sense. But that's not the bad thing. The bad thing was this tweet. On COVID, media emphasized bad news, even when we had positive developments, and did more Trump hydroxychloroquine stories than all vaccine stories combined, which of course is not true. Part of a broader pattern of characterizing everything as bad news Republicans are to be blamed for. So this is him on the process of coming out of the Trump administration saying that, hey, conservatives aren't all bad, and we certainly don't deserve blame for COVID or anything. Well, here's the thing. You weren't critical at all. You're getting mad for the media being a little bit critical. You're in a position of power. You could have done something, but you didn't, and you won't. You still won't, even though, and I can't believe it's gotten to this point, the most recent COVID tracking project for yesterday reported 2,028 deaths. We're above 2,000 deaths a day again. And the only injustice Marco Rubio can identify is that the media was critical. And he's really bad at this sort of tweet because he even put the hydroxychloroquine thing in there. So wait, you're mad that we were talking about hydroxychloroquine? No. I'm mad that we were talking about hydroxychloroquine. And you know why we were talking about it? Because every Republican and right-wing grifter in media was talking about hydroxychloroquine. Your president, who you won't challenge to this day, was talking about hydroxychloroquine and how that's the solution and bleach is the solution, UV light is the solution. You don't get to be mad at the media for covering the fact that we had no leadership and still don't during this pandemic. You could have stepped into the breach, Marco Rubio. You could have been that leader, but you chose not to. And now, as we're transitioning away from Donald Trump, and you're sort of wondering, wait, can I be a full person again? Attacking the media as if they're the reason that 2,000 people are dying every single day. Do something. Actually, you have so much power in theory. You'll never wield it. You just do what Trump says, but you could actually do something to help these people, but you still won't. Little weenie. And we're not gonna forget. I'm sure some weenies will slip through the cracks, but some of them, Ted Cruz, Paul Ryan, Marco Rubio, nope. Your weenie status has been confirmed for the rest of your life.
Well, you wonder how they're gonna try and recoup it now. We'll see. Because they can't take it. Because when they were humiliated before by him, they couldn't take it. And they tried firing back by saying, well, no. So we'll see what the next step is as they're now solidified in history as being, as you point out, the biggest weenies.
The biggest weenies ever. Okay, those are our garbage people, but we also asked you. We wanted you to get involved. We only had a couple days to put these together because this is a holiday edition, but more than 5,000 of you voted. And from 5th to 1st, at 5% of the vote, Ted Cruz, for his come and take it turkey tweet, is a garbage person. We talked about that earlier this week. Another fake tough guy, major possum-faced weenie. Sidney Powell's at 9% for being too insane for Trump's elite strike force. Too insane for that, not too insane for Lou Dobbs, we find out. In 3rd at 18%, we have people traveling for Thanksgiving for prolonging this pandemic. And this is the only one, by the way, that you can still, if you're gonna be part of that group, you don't have to be. There's still time. You could not travel. Your car could accidentally get a flat or whatever. Don't go. But anyway, in 2nd, the Trump administration at 24% for selling off the Arctic Wildlife Refuge. Thank you everybody for acknowledging that. But number 1 this week, garbage person at 44%, the people who posted Kyle Rittenhouse's bail. The people who gave him literally millions of dollars to be free. And they love him and they worship him. They're giving him sponsorship deals and things like that for going and killing protesters. They have made a celebrity out of this. Best case scenario, murderer. Worst case scenario, domestic terrorist. They're giving him millions of dollars.
Well, I mean, it shows you where the principles are of these folks. Yeah, nowhere. Well, again, the law and order party. The law and order party. So we're pushing for, as we mentioned earlier in the show, executions with, is it electrocution now? Firing squad?
Firing squads and electrocutions.
But the guy that shoots innocent folks, let's get him out of jail and make him a representative. There's some idiot from, I forget which state. There's a representative from some state that says Kyle Rittenhouse should now be considered for Congress or something, just because he needs his name out there. That's why I'm glad I don't remember his name, but he just needs his name out there because the 17-year-old kid should somehow be in Congress, number one. Number two is a murderer. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Same person will say like AOC should have never been elected, evil, crazy, stupid. No, Kyle Rittenhouse, oh, he murdered people. That's the only thing I need to hear. I don't even care about anything else. I don't care about any of his policies. He murdered people. That's who we should elect. If you saw it in another country, what would you call it? What would you call the party that just takes terrorists and says they should be our elected leaders? Like strip away the America stuff that clouds your judgment. What would you say if you saw it in another country? Anyway, very good choice, damage report community for garbage person this week. Definitely earned it. And with that, you know what you've earned, Jayar Jackson? You've earned some turkey. So why don't you go get it? Thank you for joining us today.
I'll be sweating and slaving in the kitchen tomorrow, but it's gonna be well worth it. I'm gonna enjoy it. You guys have a good one. I hope that you're doing it separately. It was a tough decision. We have family in town and we're not doing it with them. So
good call.
It sucks, but we should.
Thank you again.
See you guys.
And for those of you at home, I saw a comment on Twitch. Sundariel says, Jaren, Game Set John, thank you for your funny take on Sirius S. You guys rock. You do too. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Now, let's read a few more. Thank you, Jayar. Have a good one. I want to read just a few more super chats and comments before we go because we do have an interview coming up very soon. Leslie says, original Ghost Dragon proclaims Matt Gaetz is a tool. Wait, does that mean that we're having a bit of conflict between the different Ghost Dragons? Oh, there's been a ghost schism. Anyway, Annie says, thankful for TDR keeping me safe and sane. I scraped 40-year-old paint off my house, cutting out rotten wood and painting fresh, listening to TYT. Therapeutic, like scraping out old admin and terracotta Trump. Heartfelt thank you. That sounds awesome. Thank you for that. By the way, that sounds like Anna Kasparian's best day ever right there. May Money into Building says, thanks for the good laugh today, guys. The way you presented the turkey pardon made me think that was a real tradition for a sec. Well, I mean, it is. It's a weird one. Happy Turkey Day from the Witch Queen of Oakland Dragon back to binge watching Pokemon. Thank you, May Money. Heather V says, my AOC action figure literally just showed up at my door. Bernie one is on the way. Thanks for being the voice of reason in all this craziness and keeping me from drowning in a sea of anxiety. Hope you have a great holiday. Thank you for that. And I assume you see, I have the AOC action figure back there too. Had it on Kickstarter. Let's see, Jaden Dester says, the one fear I have is a smart version of Trump. And I first started watching TDR because I saw you talking about how exploitable our government is. What major issues do you think cannot wait to patch this? Cannot wait to patch. Well, look, to some extent, I think it's not a solution to everything. Structure, if you're talking about structurally, cleaning up our elections, stopping the voter suppression, gerrymandering, the electoral college, all that sort of stuff, switching to ranked choice voting and everything. If it's not structural though, the Democratic Party needs to actually stand for something and needs to prove to the American people that getting them in office across all branches of government will lead to material improvements to their lives. That's the single most important thing. If they don't do that, then there's a very good chance that the next Trump is going to be someone just as crazy, just as evil, but smarter, savvier. I'm missing something in Twitch, but it's hard in real time to go back and see what it is, but thank you. Let's see, Payson sent it a super chat saying, I'm living for the Jayar dance. Happy Turkey Day, guys. Can I be Kung Fu or Banff Dragon? I think both are open, and that dance was funny. I don't know if one of the editors is watching right now, but you gotta get Jayar doing that dance as a gift. Anyway, let's see. Strayek says, it's really sad, John. Those supporters are just less successful versions of Trump. Same amount of delusion, just no inheritance money. Exactly, and I think that's somewhat what they like about Trump is that he is just as crazy, just as bad as them, except he also got the money. Andrew Borth says, on to primary 2022. I mean, it's gonna take a little bit before we start having the candidates on, but yeah, the work needs to be done starting now. And with that, thank you everybody for watching this truncated damage report holiday week. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed our garbage people. We didn't wanna miss out on that. There will be interviews coming, as well as over the next couple of days. We're not gonna have shows on Thursday and Friday, but we are gonna have content. So if you go to the YouTube channel, we recorded a number of different awesome interviews with some great people. We're gonna be releasing those over the next couple of days, as well as other content. So definitely check that out. And if you, for some reason, need to see a little bit more of me before Thanksgiving, I'm gonna be joining Anna Kasparian on the Young Turks later today, so you can catch me there. Hope you all have amazing holidays either way, and stay safe out there, stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.